Hello everyone, Maurice here. Today I'm bringing you a meta report for Axie Infinite Origins Season 6. Now it's the late epic era. So let's just jump into the report and yeah, you'll see that there's quite a bit of changes, but before I get into the meta, let's just talk about the player statistics first. To be honest, not much change really. I mean, the shape is pretty similar. You do see maybe about 5,000, 5,000 more players compared to last week. So basically, that just means 5,000 more players has joined the game. So in terms of trajectory, it feels like my guess is that it'll be pretty similar in terms of the total player base compared to last season. But of course, now we still have another 3 weeks or more until the end of the season. So maybe we'll see more players. But there is quite a bit of concern from my point of view in terms of like the growth of the game, just because I feel like the player base has been relatively stable. It's not really growing too much, and I don't think it's because there's no new players coming in, but I think the main challenge is that there's this not a lot of new content, to be honest. And my feeling is just that of course, there's more that you can read on the blog post, but the gist of it is that my feeling is there's just not enough retention in terms of just having new content. Because so far, for the past few seasons, we've always obviously been improving the meta, right? The balancing of the game has been better, but we haven't really had much new content. And I personally, and maybe a lot of you also feel that the meta has been more diverse. That's a good thing, but we haven't had any new, okay, maybe have a few new archetypes, but not many new content, not many new archetypes. Most of us are probably just playing the same archetype, playing with the same axes, and the problem is that the way our axes plays are pretty similar, right? There's really not much new content, and each season is about what, 2 3 weeks, sorry, 2 3 months, right? So for most of the other games, there will be quite a lot of new content, maybe new cards, coming out every few months. But for Axie Origins, I think we've got to the problem where yeah, new players will be fun. They come in, they play a few months, 1 or 2 seasons, that's fine. Learning on a new archetype. But now the problem is that, why would people stay after a few seasons if there are no more new archetypes and you're just really going to, go through every season in a very similar way, except that, of course, at the very top of the meta, it will shift in terms of which archetype will be on top. The optimized version of each archetype will change, but for most of the players, yeah, there's really not much new. So this is my concern. But anyway, so let's get into the archetype usage for this particular meta. And we very recently have a few players, I think 3 players, just got to 23,000, and that's what there are really not many matches played at that point in time. So the top 3 players are all playing the Fury Aggro build, and Fury Aggro is the top build at the moment, I would say, the top archetype. And you can see here, this diagram where the 2300 or above is about 3 player, and above 2200 is actually maybe about 40 players. So that's really not a lot, right? I mean, if I just scroll back up here, you can see the shape is very, very steep, right? Meaning 3 players on top of this line, and then maybe like 40 players on top of this line, right? And yeah, only if you get down here, there'll be maybe about 300, about 200 players. So that's why these figures, you can see the top of the the top of the leaderboard is very, very different compared to the rest of the leaderboard in terms of the meta. So at the very top, you'll see that Fury Aggro, of course, is the main one, and you do see a bit of Anomaly. I think Anomaly has some potential, and also Purge. So Purge is, sorry, this is confused, and you see the Purge here in pink. I feel like also has some chances as we go to the win rate later. We do see the anomaly I mentioned. Sandal is also around on top as well as the Confused. So Sandal and Confused still can make it to relatively top, but maybe not the very top. Still got some leafy, but that's for the top 40, right? For everyone else, below top 40 or 50, then actually a lot of the archetypes can actually make it to, let's say, top 100 even, or top 200. AOE, Topaz, Leafy, Sustain, triple R, or all sorts of stuff. And of course, the lower down you get, then the more diverse the meta would be. But I think there's quite a clear separation between, let's say, the top 50 and the rest, where you really have to be playing a very optimized version of these certain archetypes in order to be competitive enough to get to the top 50. But for the rest of the players, yeah, I guess just play whatever we have, whatever we find fun, and we'll just settle at wherever we are. Okay, so let's just get into the win rate. This is where I do want to talk about the top ones. Okay, so yeah, the top ones are definitely Anomaly, Fury, Aggro, and Purge. Of course, I'm really just looking at like the very top in terms of victory start, because once you go further down, then everything kind of works in the sense of it really just depends on how optimized your team is as opposed to the pure power level of the archetype. So if you really just want to look at the pure um, power level of archetype, you really have to look at the top. And yeah, so Fury, Argo, Anomaly, Purge, those three I would say are the ones that will continue to climb, right, with a very positive win rate. Confused, Sandal, and Leafy, I feel like they're kind of settled, and it's gonna be hard for them to climb just based on the win rate alone. And so yeah, that's why I see Fury, Aggro, Anomaly, and Purge are the three that will continue to climb at the end of the era. So I just want to talk a bit more about just in general how the meta is for this season, and well, at least for the Epic era. And I feel like because of the energy burst change. That is the major change I would say for this season. That really pushes the meta to be very fast, and it is what they wanted, right? The game developer wanted the meta to go quite a bit faster, right? Just because before it might have been a bit too slow, too grindy, especially with sustain kind of thing around. But now, basically, yeah, it's all about which one can go faster. Free aggro, anomaly, purge, so the only like slow kind of team is really confused, I would say. Yeah, just because of the gameplay, or the archetype, how the archetype works. But otherwise, it's really just about dealing damage, getting to energy burst quickly, doing a lot of damage, and just see who's faster. And in this case, Purge is I would say, in a way, pacemaker. That's because if an archetype cannot beat Purge, or it's not fast enough to beat Purge, then I don't think there's any chance for it to really climb further up, just because yeah, it can't beat Purge. Right, and Purge is a combo team, right? So yeah, if you can't beat Purge, if you're not fast enough for a Purge, it will just beat you. So that's how it is. Yeah, so at the moment, Fury, Aggro, and Omane, those really are the two, and Sando actually, right? So Sando actually can also beat Purge and Confuse, and that's why Sando is kind of still around. So yeah, yeah, if you're fast enough to beat Purge and Confuse, then you can make it. Otherwise, it's gonna be tough. So yeah, personally, that's just how I feel the meta is going, and in the Mystic era, it's probably going to be similar, where Purge will be at least the minimum, right? In terms of the speed at which you have to go, right? If you are not fast enough to beat Purge, might be a bit difficult. Okay, so yeah, here are the matchups. So again, not going to really talk through it. Maybe just focus on a few things. Let's say for Confused, it's really struggling against Sando. I won't say struggling, but it's tough against Sando. Very tough against Fury Aggro. That's why Confused is really going down, just because Fury Aggro is just so fast and so much damage. Yeah, you get so much damage with the Retain as well, with Imp and so on. This makes Confused very tough. Anomone and Sandals are really the ones that also can give problem to Confuse, but otherwise Confuse is actually doing pretty well against other things. If you want to look at Perch is really the interesting one, I would say, where Sandal is a bit tough for Perch, just because it can go pretty fast, and Fury Aggro, of course, also. And yeah, for the rest, it's actually pretty good. I mean, Anomaly is about 50-50. Yeah, sorry that the figure is really very cramped, but yeah, so that's why for the rest of the archetype, if you're not fast enough, can't beat Perch, then it's probably going to be tough. At least at the very top. Of course, not everyone wants to be at the very top, and you just want to play AOE, then or any other archetype, then you'll settle at wherever you are, and that's how I think this game should be played for at least the majority of the player. Okay, so yeah, I guess I'll slowly scroll through these so that you can pause the video if you are interested. But that is pretty much it in terms of what I want to bring. So I guess the final thing I do want to talk about is the problem with Nemo. So in the rare era, we didn't really see Nemo as much, but now in the epic era, we have the energy shard rune and we have the energy guru rune. There's just so many ways in which you can get to energy burst so much faster, and with Nemo, it's just so good, right? Meaning, if you don't run Nemo Tail, it is gonna be pretty like suboptimal compared to the Nemo Tail version for most archetype except for the Fury Perch. Sorry, not Fury Aggro. Even Perch run Nemo, Tail, and even Ear. So it's only Fury Aggro that doesn't really need Nemo because when you get to Fury, you already get the energy anyway. And sometimes it's really not about the energy that you have, it's about the cards that you have. That's limiting for Fury Aggro. But for the rest of the archetype, unfortunately, Nemo is really especially the Nemo tail is kind of necessary, and it really limits I don't call it design space, but it really limits the use of any other tail cards, and it limits a lot of strategy in making it to the top just because if you can't use Nemo tail, it's probably going to be a bit difficult. Yeah, it's because Nemo tail is so good with the deck thinning ability as well. Yeah, so yeah, that's my take. Just because even for things like Perch, it's really running Nemo ears, Nemo tail, right, just to get to energy burst. So yeah, of course Sandals and others as well. Well, we'll see whether the Nemo package will get nerfed, and I do hope that nerfing is really not just the only thing we should do. I do hope that they will make more changes to the game, especially with new cards or new runes and charms, so that we don't just play like the same archetypes again and again. Maybe just with a slightly different version, just to tailor to a particular change with a season. So I do hope that there will be significant changes for next season, I hope, because otherwise, yeah, we'll just have to wait and so-called enjoy playing slightly different versions of the same archetype for, I don't know, the next how many seasons to come. Okay, so that is it for today. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.